Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more in the Buddha's words. Meant to be Thursday's video, but we're getting it done. We have one piece to read today. It'll be part 5 of chapter 3, which will actually finish out the chapter. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this and get this done. Part 5, Steps Toward the Realization of Truth. Then the Brahman Kanki, together with the large company of Brahmins, went to the Blessed One, exchanged greetings with him, and sat down at one side. Now that the occasion the Blessed One was seated, finished some amiable talk with some very senior Brahmins. At the time, sitting in the assembly was a Brahmin student named Kapathika, young, shaven-headed, 16 years old. He was a master of the 3 Vedas with their vocabularies, liturgy, phonology, and etymology, and the histories as a 5th. Skilled in philology and grammar, he was fully versed in natural philosophy and in the marks of a great man. While the very senior Brahmins were conversing with the Blessed One, he repeatedly broke in and interrupted their talk. Then the Blessed One rebuked the Brahmin student, Kapathika, thus: "The Honorable Bharadvaja shouldn't break in and interrupt the talk of the very senior Brahmins while they are conversing. He should wait until the talk is finished." When this was said, the Brahman Kanki said to the Blessed One, "Master Gautama shouldn't rebuke the Brahmin student Kapathika. This Brahmin student is very learned. He was a good delivery. He is wise. He can well take part in the discussion with Master Gautama." When the Blessed One thought, surely, since the Brahmins honor him thus, the Brahmin student Kapathika must be accomplished in the scriptures of the 3 Vedas. Then the Brahmin student Kapathika thought, when the ascetic Gautama catches my eye, I shall ask him a question. Then, knowing with his own mind, he thought in the Brahmin student Kapathika's mind, the Blessed One turned the eye toward him. Then the Brahmin student Kapathika thought, the ascetic Gautama has turned toward me. Suppose I ask him a question. Then he said to the Blessed One, "Master Gautama, in regard to the ancient Brahmin hymns that have come down through oral transmission preserved in the collections, the Brahmins come to the definite conclusion. Only this is true. Anything else is wrong. What does Master Gautama say about this? How then, Bharadvaja, among the Brahmins is there even a single Brahmin who says thus, I know this, I see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong? No, Master Gautama. How then, Bharadvaja, among the Brahmins is even a single teacher or a single teacher's teacher, back in the 7th generation of teachers who says thus, I know this, I see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong? No, Master Gautama. Now then, Bharadvaja, the ancient Brahmin seers, the creators of the hymns and the composers of the hymns, whose ancient hymns that were formerly chanted, uttered, and compiled, The Brahmin nowadays still chant and repeating what was spoken and reciting what was recited. That is, Athaka, Vamaka, Vamadeva, Vasamita, Yamatagi, Angarasa, Bharadvaja, Baseta, Kasapa, and Bagu. Would even these ancient Brahmin seers say thus, "We know this, we see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong"? No, Master Gautama. So, Bharadvaja, it seems that among the Brahmins there is not even a single Brahmin who says thus, "I know this, I see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong." And among the Brahmins there is not even a single teacher or a single teacher's teacher back to the 7th generation of teachers who says thus, "I know this, I see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong." And the ancient Brahmin seers, the creators of the hymns, the composers of the hymns, even those ancient Brahmin seers do not say thus, "We know this, we see this, only this is true, anything else is wrong." Suppose there were a file of blind men, each in touch with the next, and the first one does not see, the middle one does not see, and the last one does not see. So too, Bharadvaja, in regard to the statement, the Brahmins seem to be like a file of blind men. The first one does not see, the middle one does not see, and the last one does not see. What do you think, Bharadvaja? That being so, does not the faith of the Brahmins turn out to be groundless? The Brahmins honor this not only out of faith, Master Gautama, they also honor it as oral tradition. Bharadvaja, first you took your stand in faith, now you speak of oral tradition. These are 5 things, Bharadvaja, that may turn out in 2 different ways here and now. What 5? Faith, approval, oral tradition, reasoned cogitation, and acceptance of a view as a result of pondering it. These 5 things may turn into 2 different ways here and now. Now something may be fully accepted out of faith, yet it may be empty, hollow, and false. But something else may not be fully accepted out of faith, yet it may be factual, true, and unmistaken. Again, something may be fully approved of, well transmitted, well cogitated, well pondered, yet it may be empty, hollow, and false. But something else may not be well pondered, yet it be factual, true, and unmistaken. Under these conditions, it is not proper for a wise man who preserves truth to come to the definite conclusion, "Only this is true, anything else is wrong." But, Master Gautama, in what way is the preservation of truth? How does one preserve truth? We ask Master Gautama about the preservation of truth. If a person has faith, Bharadvaja, he preserves truth when he says, "My faith is thus," but he does not yet come to the definite conclusion. "Only this is true, anything else is wrong." In this way, Bharadvaja, there is a preservation of truth. In this way, he preserves truth. In this way, we describe the preservation of truth. But as yet, there is no discovery of truth. If a person approves of something, if he receives an oral tradition, if he reaches a conclusion based on reasoned cogitation, if he accepts a view as a result of pondering it, he preserves truth when he says, "The view that I accept as a result of pondering it is thus." But he does not yet come to the definite conclusion. Only this is true. Anything else is wrong. In this way, too, Bharadvaja, there is the preservation of truth in the way he preserves truth. In this way, we describe the preservation of truth, but as yet there is no discovery of truth. In that way, Master Gautama, there is the preservation of truth. In that way, one preserves truth. In that way, we recognize the preservation of truth. But in what way, Master Gautama, is there the discovery of truth? And in what way does one discover truth? We ask Master Gautama about the discovery of truth. Here, Bharadvaja, a monk may be living in dependence on some village or town. When a householder or a householder's son goes to him and investigates him in regard to three kinds of states, in regard to states based on greed, in regard to states based on hate, in regard to states based on delusion. And there in this monk any states based on greed, such that with his mind obsessed by those states, while not knowing he might say, "I know," or while not seeing he might say, "I see," or he might urge others to act in a way that would lead to their harm and suffering for a long time. And as he investigates him, he comes to know. And there are no such states based on greed in this monk. The bodily and verbal behavior of this monk are not those of one affected by greed. And the Dhamma that he teaches is profound, hard to see and hard to understand, peaceful and sublime, unattainable by mere reasoning, subtle, and to be experienced by the wise. This Dhamma cannot easily be taught or by one affected by greed. When he has investigated him and has seen that he is purified from states based on greed, he next investigates him in regard to states based on hate. Are there in this monk any states based on hate, such that in his mind, obsessed by those states, he might urge others to act in a way that would lead to their harm and suffering for a long time? As he investigates him, he comes to know. There are no such states based on hate in this monk. The bodily and verbal behavior of this monk are not those of one affected by hate. And by the Dhamma that he teaches is profound, to be experienced by the wise. This Dhamma cannot easily be taught by one affected by hate. When he has investigated him and seen that he is purified from states based on hate, he next investigates him in regard to states based on delusion. Are there in this monk any states based on delusion, such that, with his mind obsessed by those states, he might urge others to act in a way that would lead to their harm and suffering for a long time? As he investigates him, he comes to know there are no such states based on delusion in this monk. The bodily and verbal behavior of this monk are not those of one affected by delusion, and the Dhamma that he teaches is profound, to be experienced by the wise. This Dhamma cannot easily be taught by one affected by delusion. When he has investigated him and has seen that he is purified from states based on delusion, he then places faith in him. Filled with faith, he visits him and pays respects to him. Having paid respect to him, he gives ear. When he gives ear, he hears the Dhamma. Having heard the Dhamma, he memorizes it and examines the meaning of the teachings he has memorized. When he examines their meaning, he accepts those teachings as a result of pondering them. When he has accepted those teachings as a result of pondering them, desire springs up. When desire has sprung up, he applies his will. Having applied his will, he scrutinizes. Having scrutinized, he strives. Resolutely striving, he realizes with the body the supreme truth and sees it by penetrating it with wisdom. By this way, Bharadvaja, there is discovery of truth. In this way, one discovers truth. In this way, we describe the discovery of truth. But as yet, there is no final arrival of truth. In that way, Master Gautama, there is a discovery of truth. In that way, one discovers truth. In that way, we recognize the discovery of truth. But in what way, Master Gautama, is there the final arrival at truth? In what way does one finally arrive at truth? We ask Master Gautama about the final arrival of truth. The final arrival of truth, Bharadvaja, lies in the repetition, development, and cultivation of those same things. In this way, Bharadvaja, there is the final arrival at truth. In this way, one finally arrives at truth. In this way, we describe the final arrival at truth. In that way, Master Gautama, there is the final arrival at truth. In that way, one finally arrives at truth. In that way, we recognize the final arrival at truth. But what, Master Gautama, is most helpful for the final arrival at truth? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for the final arrival at truth. Striving is most helpful for the final arrival at truth, Bharadvaja. If one does not strive, one will not finally arrive at the truth. But because one strives, one does finally arrive at truth. That is why striving is most helpful for the final arrival at truth. But what, Master Gautama, is most helpful for striving? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for striving. Scrutiny is most helpful for striving, Bharadvaja. If one does not scrutinize, one will not strive. But because one scrutinizes, one strives. That is why scrutiny is most helpful for striving. But what, Master Gautama, is most helpful for scrutiny? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for scrutiny. Application of the will is most helpful for scrutiny, Bharadvaja. If one does not apply one's will, one will not scrutinize. But because one applies one's will, one scrutinizes. That is why application of the will is the most helpful for scrutiny. But what, Master Gautama, is most helpful for application of the will? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for application of the will. Desire is most helpful for application of the will, Bharadvaja. If one does not arouse desire, one will not apply one's will. But because one arouses desire, one applies one's will. That is why desire is the most helpful for application of the will. But what, Master Gautama, is the most helpful for desire? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for desire. Accepting the teachings as a result of pondering them is most helpful for desire, Bharadvaja. If one does not accept the teachings as a result of pondering them, desire will not spring up. But because one accepts the teaching as a result of pondering them, desire springs up. That is why accepting the teachings as a result of pondering them is most helpful for desire. But what, Master Gautama, is most helpful for accepting the teachings as a result of pondering them? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for accepting the teachings as a result of pondering them. Examination of the meaning is most helpful for accepting the teachings as a result of pondering them, Bharadvaja. If one does not examine their meaning, one will not accept the teachings as a result of pondering them. But because one examines their meaning, one accepts the teachings as a result of pondering them. That is why examination of the meaning is most helpful for accepting the teachings as a result of pondering them. But what, Master Gautama, is the most helpful for examination of meaning? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for examination of meaning. Memorizing the teachings is most helpful for examining the meaning, Bharadvaja. If one does not memorize a teaching, one will not examine its meaning. But because one memorizes a teaching, one examines its meaning. But what, Master Gautama, is most helpful for memorizing the teachings? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for memorizing the teachings. Hearing the Dhamma is most helpful for memorizing the teachings, Bharadvaja. If one does not hear the Dhamma, one will not memorize the teachings. But because one hears the Dhamma, one memorizes the teachings. This is why hearing the Dhamma is the most helpful for memorizing the teachings. But what, Master Gautama, is most helpful for hearing the Dhamma? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for hearing the Dhamma. Giving ear is the most helpful for hearing the Dhamma, Bharadvaja. If one does not give ear, one will not hear the Dhamma. But because one gives ear, one hears the Dhamma. That is why giving ear is the most helpful for hearing the Dhamma. But what, Master Gautama, is most helpful for giving ear? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for giving ear. Paying respect is most helpful for giving ear, Bharadvaja. If one does not pay respect, one will not give ear. But because one pays respect, one gives ear. That is why paying respect is most helpful for giving ear. But what, Master Gautama, is most helpful for paying respect? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for paying respect. Visiting is the most helpful for paying respect, Bharadvaja. If one does not visit a teacher, one will not pay respect to him. But because one visits a teacher, one pays respect to him. That is why visiting is the most helpful for paying respect. But what, Master Gautama, is the most helpful for visiting? We ask Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for visiting. Faith is most helpful for visiting, Bharadvaja. If faith in a teacher does not arise, one will not visit him. But because faith in a teacher arises, he visits him. That is why faith is most helpful for visiting. We asked Master Gautama about the preservation of truth, and Master Gautama answered about the preservation of truth. We approved of and accept that answer, and so we are satisfied. We asked Master Gautama about the discovery of truth, and Master Gautama answered about the discovery of truth. We approve of and accept that answer, and so we are satisfied. We asked Master Gautama about the final arrival at truth, and Master Gautama answered about the final arrival at truth. We approve of and accept that answer, and so we are satisfied. We asked Master Gautama about the thing most helpful for the final arrival at truth, and Master Gautama answered about the thing most helpful for the final arrival at truth. We approve of and accept that answer, and so we are satisfied. Whatever we ask Master Gautama about, that he has answered us. We approve of and accept that answer, and so we are satisfied. Formerly, Master Gautama, we used to think, who are these bald-headed ascetics, these dark menial offspring of the Lord's feet, that they would understand the Dhamma? But Master Gautama has indeed inspired in me love for ascetics, confidence in ascetics, reverence for ascetics. Magnificent Master Gautama, magnificent Master Gautama. From today, let Master Gautama remember me as a lay follower who has gone to him for refuge for life. But yeah, that ends the chapter there. Let's go ahead and look back on some of the information for the introduction of the chapter. Faith is the first of the 5 spiritual faculties, and in some degree, as trusting confidence in the Buddha's enlightenment and in the main principles of his teaching, it is prerequisite for the higher training. We see faith functioning in this preparatory row in text chapter 3, section 5, which we just read, which is a long excerpt from the Kanki Sutta. Here the Buddha explains that a person who has faith in something preserves truth. When he says, "This is my faith," he preserves truth, because he merely states what he believes without jumping to the conclusion that what he believes is definitely true, and anything else contrary to it is false. The Buddha contrasts the preservation of truth, Sakanurakana, with the discovery of truth, Sakanubodha, which begins by placing faith in a teacher who has proved himself worthy of trust. Having gained faith in such a teacher, one then approaches him for instruction, learns the Dhamma, practices it according to a series of states more finely calibrated than in an earlier text, and finally sees the supreme truth for oneself, which is what the Buddha was teaching this young monk. He's like, yeah, you have to go through all this. And he breaks it down to its finest, purest form, where one must start. And that was visiting a teacher. Because once you visit the teacher, other things will follow. But you have to take that first gigantic step. But yeah, that ends chapter 3. We will then begin chapter 4, and we are just over 100 pages so far, so we're getting there. We're making advancement. 400. $423 pages. So we're about a quarter of the way through. But yeah. We'll go ahead and end that episode there. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next episode. Until then, later.